Record. Record to this computer.
Recording in progress.
Had a chance to do a little dancing this morning. Certainly loosens up the joints a little bit. Good thing. So, dear friends, I am once again posing as Robert Beatty for a little while today. And this is a broadcast of the Portland Insight Meditation Community on I believe it's the 13th, I almost remembered, the 13th of October, 2021. A while ago, 8 or 9 years ago, I went to Turkey. My daughter and I had 18 days in Turkey together. And one of the highlights was a trip to Rumi's tomb, where I got to see the book, where the original, the Mathnawi, it's called, or something, can't pronounce it right, but it's a book that was written in 1200. He would walk around spouting poetry, and they would write it down, and that's where the Rumi poetry comes from. And as I was dancing this morning, I had a poem come to me. It's really short. I'm alive. I might as well be here, because this is it. And David Budbill wrote this poem sometime. Tomorrow we are bones and ash, the roots of weeds poking through our skulls. Today, simple clothes, empty mind, full stomach, alive, aware, right here, right now, drunk on music, who needs wine? Come on, sweetheart. Let's go dancing while we've still got feet. Tomorrow we are bones and ash, the roots of weeds poking through our skulls. Today, simple clothes, empty mind, full stomach, alive, aware, right here, right now, drunk on music, who needs wine? Come on, sweetheart, let's go dancing while we've still got feet. And as I was looking for that poem, another one jumped out at me. It's escaped. Oh, no, I know. I can find it this way. Yes. Right. Similar feel. Thomas Carlyle. It's called Our Jeopardy. It is good to use the best china, the most genuine goblets, the oldest lace tablecloth. There's a risk, of course, every time you use anything or anyone shares an inmost moment or a fragile cup of revelation, but not to touch, not to handle the artifacts of being human is the quiet crash, the deadly catastrophe, where nothing is enjoyed or broken or spilled or spoken or stained or mended, where nothing is ever lived, loved, laughed over, wept over, where nothing is ever lost or found. It is best to use the good china. The most genuine goblets, the oldest lace tablecloth. There's a risk, of course, every time you use anything or anyone shares an inmost moment or a fragile cup of revelation, but not to touch, not to handle the artifacts of being human is the quiet crash, the deadly catastrophe, where nothing is enjoyed or broken or spilled or spoken or stained or mended, where nothing is ever lived, loved, laughed over, wept over, where nothing is ever lost or found. So please join me in making a commitment today to live fully. It's the only time we'll ever have this moment. Sounds almost trite to say, but it really is. The world becomes pretty bright when one remembers it. So, in that regard, the fingers are working about 98% now. That's pretty nice. No numbness this morning. I take, almost, refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge in being awake, and in that awakeness, really experiencing life in its fullness, in support of and by the community of friends of practice. Mm-hmm. So let us do this beautiful ancient thing. What humans have been doing for thousands and thousands of years. Since the time of the Buddha, the path has been much clearer. So we take this comfortable upright posture. And we sit like a rock. How do rocks sit? Still. They don't have petty desires to be here or there or somewhere else. They just sit. They're the great masters of patience. And when the body sits still, it makes the life in the body more apparent. It makes the breathing much more forward, more easily noticed. And so we can inhabit the body and the breathing. And we do this in the most simple way. It requires no cognition, no theories, no who's right and who's wrong, just the beginning of this breath. The end of this breath. Of course, there may well be activity of mind, thinking, planning, remembering. The 5 hindrances could be present in various forms of desire or disliking, pulling toward, pushing away. There could be restlessness and agitation, or sleepy dullness, low energy. There could be skeptical doubt. What if we were to radically accept this moment? If we were to let go remorse from the past and clinging and desire for the future? If for the time of this being together we let go of all the deadlines, all that mental stuff which is the future, and we just are here now, with this in-breathing and out-breathing. In the instructions for mindfulness of the body, we're guided to observe the breath in its context within the whole body, the postures of the body, sitting, standing, walking, lying down, running. We're encouraged to be mindful of the body in every activity. How it reaches out for the coffee pot. How it presses on the accelerator. How one hand is on the baby and the other hand is reaching for the diapers. How one sits at the computer. All activities, toilet functions, bathing. We are encouraged to learn a practice that's known as the 32 parts of the body. And we pay attention, we visualize hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, and so on. And we can also observe the building blocks, the 4 elements of the body. Know the earthen quality. Feel the heaviness, the solidity of your body. Not to think about it, but to know it. This is the rock that sits here. The earth element. We share this earth element with everything else that has mass in the universe. When the mind wanders, we come back to the heaviness, the earthenness. Feel the solidity where the body connects with the chair, or where the hands are with each other. The air element, which is all things that move and vibrate. So there is the breath. Notice the expansion and contraction. With each breath. The air element also is noticed, or can be noticed, as the life in the hands, that vibratory, tingling. They're not solid, they have a movement quality to them. This is not an imagination. And then we have the fire element. the warmth and coolness. Fire. Notice the warm places in the body. The cool places. There are great subtleties to the fire element. And the water element, the fact of fluidity and viscosity and thickness. The water element is most apparent in the saliva. It's obvious there. The saliva, which is water on loan, of course, from the world. And in a way, the water element is apparent through the viscosity of the body. The body is not very flowing while it's alive. It doesn't take long after death before it becomes quite liquid. And so we honor with awareness the four elements, the four ancient elements, the directly experienceable elements. We might ask ourselves, if we spend time with the elements, is this earthenness mine? Is it me? Is this myself? Earth. Air, movement, vibration, is this myself? Fire. Water. Is this liquidity me or mine? Is this myself? And so we can choose, mindful of the body, to attend to the coming and going of the breath, perhaps, or to the entirety of the body with the breath occurring in the midst of it all. We can notice the wanderings of the mind. sitting like rocks. Impulses come to move in this way or that way, to scratch. It's such a relief to give all that up. To really learn that I can bear with what is. I can be awake to it and actually, in that awakeness, suffer less and less. Breathing in and out. Noticing the activities of mind as what they are. Gossamer spider trails, coming and going. Nothing substantial about them at all. Each breath in, an invitation to be present, to embrace life. Each breath out, the same. Be here. And let us remember in this moment the great prayer. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I find myself right now and all day and for the rest of my life. And when there comes pain and disappointment and suffering, small, medium, and large, I intend to hold myself in sweet, gentle, loving compassion. This includes any self-hatred or any hatred of anyone. I aspire to be awake. I intend to be awake. And remembering that we practice with each other, we practice in community, in Sangha. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. Those of you on Zoom, I'm going to share a picture with you. This shiny silver bolt is what will hold the joists at PIMC to the foundation. It's in a way a very simple, I meant to get a picture of this, quite a simple way they're connecting the joists. But then there will be about one of these every foot all around the foundation. And then they're applying them from in the offices downstairs. They're working through the ceiling. And you'll notice here at the start of this thing, there's little cuts in this thread, and this is a concrete threading bolt. And it's what will keep the building from rattling off its foundation. Quite a simple, elegant solution to that issue. This will then create the platform upon which, when we raise the money for it, the new walls up in the Dharma Hall will rest on these things. So, a little update. Jim is teaching on Saturday, 9 till 1. Information is on the website, I believe. Is that true, Jim? Yes?
Yes, it's actually on the first page, and there's some activity and registration already. So I'm looking forward to joining with as many people as can fit into the little Zoom boxes.
Thanks, Jim.
Saturday morning.
The advertising invitation will go out very soon for my 8-session class on what the Buddha taught. It'll be starting, I think it's early November, Wednesday nights. So enough about me. What about you? Certainly very touching to see you. This has gotten to be a nice habit.
Robert, I meditated a lot traveling across the continent last night, this morning, and I want to communicate to everyone here that I really had an honest and direct experience of each person in the Sangha, and that was beautiful and magical how that arose in my awareness. So thank you all for traveling with me and being my Sangha, being in Sangha together.
Thanks, Ed.
Being a doorway for me, knowing Dharma and Sangha and Anicca.
Pat, I'm afraid of flying, so I don't know how to feel about that.
I see. Thanks, Rob. Did the four elements introduction make sense to you? It's a really lovely practice. It's particularly poignant when the mind gets a little quiet or a lot quiet. And we can just abide, we can just rest in the body in its earthen nature. There's nothing to figure out. It's just, this is what matter feels like. This is mass, rupa. Or all that tingling, vibrating air element. Simply abiding in the body can become so interesting and comforting. And it has nothing to do with the neurotic mind. It's just the body.
Hi, Robert. It's Catherine. Hi, Sangha. I wanted to especially thank you for the elements this morning. I had I could sort of feel them all for moments. They were all present at the same time, and what I notice is that it really, it just the focus the mind. There's no place to wander when you're so aware of those elements. It felt just very, very, a very focusing, really beautiful focusing practice. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much to do when nothing's happening. We don't have to pick up our phone. You can just... there's an apocryphal thing. I heard this 40 or 50 years ago. From the time of the Buddha, two women are on their way to the well in the morning, and one of them says to the other, "And you, Alice, which of the four foundations of mindfulness are you practicing this morning?" What a different conversation. As opposed to, there's a great sale at Macy's this afternoon.
Hi, Robert. Good morning.
Hello, Joy.
It's sort of dark still. I'm just wondering, can you remind me what you've commented on before about panic? Having quite a bit of panic lately about, I don't know, the world, I guess. And I think you said that we can look at it more objectively or take it out of our self-identity.
Mm-hmm.
What I found myself doing was I wanted to distract myself when the panic came up in meditation with playing games on my iPad. It's such a huge distraction, the digital media.
I'm just remembering a time when I was having some panic attacks. So what is it? What is panic? The body is, hang on just a second, my watch is dying. Put it on there to charge. There's a profound arousal in the energy systems of the body. There are thoughts and feelings which are unbearable, and there's desperate attempts to think, and the system just kind of gets completely overamped. And I suppose there's a place in survival for panic. No, probably not the best thing, but if you had to just really run to grab your child before the wolf got it, or something like that, it might have a use in that regard. But mostly it's unconscious, right? You don't really know what's happening, why the panic, and so. But to come back to the meditative approach to it, the deeper we go in our meditation, the more we discover that we have some influence over the excitatory systems in the body. We can really learn to relax. And for some years I did biofeedback, and I taught people how to warm up their hands. And if you can warm your hands, your blood pressure is going to go down. And since we can measure the warming and cooling of the hand, we could do that. And one of the reasons for a daily, ongoing, deepening practice is that we learn how to relatively quickly go from sympathetic arousal, which in its extreme is panic, to parasympathetic relaxation, which is the opposite. And so developing a practice over time, it actually changes our capacity to self-soothe. Now, if you were in the middle of panic, sitting might work. It might be possible. But what might be more useful would be to do walking meditation or running in place meditation.
Right.
And one of the reasons for that is there's all this adrenaline and other excitatory chemistry in the bloodstream. And a few minutes of cardiovascular exercise will just nail that stuff often. Mm-hmm. I had a particular realization of that a long time ago. I was giving a talk, and I was terribly anxious, a public talk. I was terribly anxious. And the context doesn't really matter, but it occurred to me that I had a Nordic track at that point. Remember those? And I got on there, and I was very anxious, very anxious. And after 5 minutes, all of a sudden there was this drop in the anxiety. It just went away. And nothing had changed in the outer world, but the chemistry had been used up. And I was very mindful of the activity. So I came into the present moment. So those are strategies for what to do with it. And I mean, we do lots of other things. I mean, people go to their various addictions. Well, like the iPad is that in a benign, relatively benign sort of way. But people drop Quaaludes and all kinds of things to not feel that anxiety. And ultimately, the only way out is through. And that's what one in the role of, quote, therapist, one sometimes can provide, or a person who's helping us the person on the outside of the system can stay calm and clear and help us to regulate our system by their regulating their system. And also there's sometimes when panic is coming from previous trauma, there's some various like eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a EMDR trauma treatment. That can sometimes help too, because it helps us get into contact with the deep feelings and the thoughts and the memories and so on in a holding environment with another person, so that we can actually face it. But sometimes just sitting, it's more than we can bear. I'm a great fan of dancing in many different circumstances. Really. Put on some hard driving rock and roll and see how long that panic lasts.
It's true. Music can really change your mood.
Yeah.
Well, we were swimming a lot too, my friend and I, to manage our mental health, and it's we haven't yet got to the year-round swimming capacity, so we have to think of how to do that.
Well, I mean, literally, it can't just be marching in place.
Oh yeah.
For 5 minutes, it doesn't take complicated systems. Just get the heart rate up and watch what happens, because the purpose of the panic, as I make sense of it, is to fight or flee. And if we use the big muscles of the body, the hips and not the hips, but the thighs and the butt and so on, they burn up adrenaline quickly.
Maybe I should go outside and flee. That would be fun.
Outside and what?
Flee.
Flee. You could.
I should literally flee.
There goes Joy again.
Fleeing.
She must be having some panic this morning. Whoosh! Is that any help?
Oh yes, thank you. Yeah, yeah. I once was very panicky, and I sat down in the meditation, and your voice instantly relaxed. Was instantly, a resolution. It was really wonderful.
Yeah. So. Something like that. There's a conditioning of the context. Like here we are. This is our meditation hall. And to go to the meditation hall, we get used to, how am I in the meditation hall? Well, I'm like this. Oh, whew.
Yeah, that's wondrous.
That's why it's one of the many reasons it's so helpful to have a place where you meditate regularly, and make it a little altar. Put a Buddha or whatever if you like that kind of thing. There's a candle, but that's your spot, and you keep it clean, and you put a flower there. And then when the shit hits the fan, you go to your spot.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Really nice. Yeah.
You go to your spot. You have your maybe your favorite shawl, or you have your but you have a place. It's a power spot.
And I guess that's one reason to have a center in Portland. It's full of the spirit of the community. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
There are many people. There are many people for whom that building is their home, their spiritual home. And to be there is incredibly comforting.
Yeah.
And then there's also the opportunities to do volunteer work and to also to be there through many seasons, literally, and many seasons of heart. But having a spot at home, I mean, even if it's just one corner of the couch. I now have my little house here, which is really nice. I have my chair over there. I sit there a lot. But before I had my little house, there was the end of the couch was my spot. And actually, when I had my brain surgery, I spent. Oh, there's this. I always get sad when I think of that, or joyful, or whatever the hell it is. I lived in that spot. It was great.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go anywhere or do anything for weeks, and I didn't. About 3 or 4 weeks into it, I pulled out my computer thinking, well, I should start easing back into email. And the sense of disgust when I picked up the computer was like, no.
Yes.
I went another 2 or 3 weeks after that before I started picking it up. So thank you.
Something to be grateful for, to have that nice spot that we can create for ourselves.
Imagine the privilege of having a couch in your own house, your own apartment.
True.
I mean,
true.
I don't know how. Well, I guess I saw enough in Vancouver to know that houselessness is so sad. And
Did you go to that?
It's explosive.
Did you go to that neighborhood, that downtown?
Yes, my friend drove me through it. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah.
We have that everywhere here.
In Portland?
Yeah.
Oh no.
The downtown Portland is. Well, I don't know how many thousands of people, but the main streets downtown have tents on them, and piles of trash, and it's a radical transformation of the cities as people fall out of the system.
The apocalypse, hey?
Well, there's a big change happening. That's true.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and I even have a painting.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, the privilege of having a home is. I mean, I always say. I don't know that it's jokingly, but imagine this. I live at such a pinnacle of luxury that I have in my house hot running water as much as I want. I also, I mean, it gets pretty extreme. I hope I don't blow my cover here. I also have a refrigerator and a freezer in the refrigerator. And Jennifer and I are so wealthy, we don't. Well, on occasion we'll go out to dinner, and we'll say, "What kind of food would you like tonight, honey?" Privilege on privilege.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Thank you.
And not to feel guilty, but to feel grateful, and then to be mindful in the midst of it. It's like, whoa, I've got this.
And even in a catastrophe, we'll probably be safer than most people in the world.
In a certain way, possibly. Here, let me share this with you. I think I can. I think I can. Last night, I couldn't. Can I do that? Can I make it work? Let me see. Can you see this man? There he is. You see him?
Yeah.
I ate in a Vietnamese restaurant last night, and he was sitting across from me, and he had the air of having worked hard physically all day, He was just, and he did not have good manners with his noodles. I secretly went and paid for his dinner.
Wow.
So that when he went to pay, it's like it was fun watching him. It's like, what? But it was so fun.
Nice.
And we can do that. I mean, it's no impact on me at all to pay for that. But it's so fun to have that option.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for your question about panic.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Maybe I'll say this. There's something else. One of the things I know about panic was from a time when I was having panic attacks. A long time ago now. I had a best friend for 13 years. His name was Bob Braun. He was a rolfer, and he was my racquetball adversary. Every Friday morning we played racquetball. Standing date, 9:00, and then we'd go to lunch and then we'd meet again. And we skied together. At the time that my son was born, I was cultivating friendships with men because I'd never done that. I had such disdain, hatred for men. So I was waking up to that, and I had 10 or 12 men that I was maintaining relationships with and having lunch and so on. And then when Luke was born, I couldn't do that because I was a stay-at-home parent. And Bob was the only one of all of them that said, I'll come to your house. I'll spend time with you with Luke because you're a father now. The others just disappeared, interestingly. But after 13 years of this, we talked together too. After 13 years of this, one night I got a phone call after midnight that my dad, it was his daughter. Bob's had a stroke. He's in the hospital. We don't know if he's going to live. And I got up and I went to my meditation seat, and I had one of those Our Lady of Guadalupe, those tall Catholic candles, and I lit it, and after about a minute it went out. And I was told, don't come to the hospital yet. We'll call you. And around 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, they called me, and I went, and there was Bob, terrible stroke. And then they decided in the morning to, around noonish, to pull the plug, and we were all there singing and so on while he died. And then it was big. It was a big loss for me. And I started waking up in the night, early in the night, feeling really bad. I didn't know what it was, and I'd get up, and I was into hot milk at that point, and I'd get up and I'd just try to figure it out, sort of. And after a week or two, or maybe more of this, it occurred to me, the question was, what would you suggest to one of your students to do? And I said, well, I'd probably say go sit. And there was this, nope, don't want to go sit. But I decided to do so, and I went to my meditation spot, which was very well oiled at that point. I had a cute little spot, power spot. And I sat there, and I realized that there was this terror that I hadn't known was terror, and that my heart rate was fast. And I was observing this, and I thought, good God, this is what people talk about as panic attacks. I'm having a panic attack. And I sat there, and I'm feeling sad now. And this lump started coming up into my throat. And then as I sat with it more and more, I decided, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to turn toward this. I'm going to feel this. And all of a sudden, there was this eruption of terror and fear and sadness and anger, and I was back on that night of that phone call and the candle going out, and there was this eruption of deep feeling. And that was the end of the panic attacks. That there was something trying to get through. The signal was panic. And it was able to come up and move through finally. And that, once again, I feel very glad of that, because I then have a little bit of an inkling into, some people have panic a lot. Oh, Jeez. Some people, PTSD issues from all kinds of trauma. If we scratch the surface on anybody, the only possible response is compassion, I think. We're all the walking wounded. We are all life is so incredibly difficult.
Good morning, Robert. It's Joe.
Hello, Joe.
And Joy speaking helped me kind of coalesce a thought I had. I've been, like many people, concerned with climate change and the pressures that that's putting on everything and everyone. Mm-hmm. And I read an article that had to do with where we come from, archaeologically speaking. And they're using genetics to trace the beginning of humanity, of Homo sapiens. And they believe that we originated in Australia, not in Africa, and that climate change was the big force that caused us to evolve and move and expand into the world from where we as a species started. And it was the first time that I'd ever thought of this climate change as an overriding force to push evolution of a species into maybe, into progress, let's say, from where they were to where we're going. And it made me realize that sometimes, life, we have lessons that we don't learn. And each time that lesson comes around, that hurdle is a little bit higher, a little bit more noticeable, to the point where we start tripping over it, to notice that sooner or later we have to deal with that issue. And it pushes us to a different, a different understanding of life. Some of the hard lessons I have to fall over many times before I learn them and understand them. And all the idea that climate change is a force to help us evolve, perhaps to a better place, a better society, a better understanding of life, more in balance. I thought, well, Mother Nature could certainly be that, this overriding force to say, hey, pay attention. And for me, it helped my anxiety a lot.
Great use of that information.
Yes. And it kind of eased my panic a little bit about the what ifs that we can get wrapped up in. What about this? The future. So thank you, Joy. And that helped me kind of put all that into a more coherent thought in my head.
There's a notion in the spiritual world about practicing don't know mind. And we just don't know. We just don't know what's coming. And there's big picture, I guess. 99% of all species that ever walked the earth are gone. Why would humans not ultimately disappear? Our bodies will, our families will, everything that we know, we will relinquish. It's very core of Buddhist teaching. So practicing don't know mind, and then seizing the moment of being here for this breath, for this time you get to greet your child or your friend or your partner, for this breakfast, right? Wow, I get to eat breakfast again.
There's enough love and joy and happiness and beauty in the moment that I don't need to look for tomorrows. It's all right here if I just am aware of it.
Yeah. Okay, friends. Anyone sitting with something, we talked about panic, which could have some resonance. Anybody else have something you need to share or want to share? I need to go fairly soon. Well, shall we go out on a song? Happy trails to you. Maybe we should be more traditional. That's pretty traditional. So, may all beings receive all blessings. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a lovely, lovely day, my friends.
Thank you.
You all, Sangha.